welcome to all of our listeners. Welcome to the first episode after relaunching our channel at Video Analytics 101. We're shuffling things up a bit. We're changing the format to more podcast style where we invite really personalities from the field of AI and video analytics and machine learning. And we talk more about the history, the opinions, and the AI field in general. And today I'm very happy to have Raymond Fu with me. Raymond is a professor at Northeastern University in Boston. Northeastern University definitely is a top tier university. And to say that he contributed a great deal to our field is probably an understatement. So I'm super happy to have Raymond here with me. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you, Floyd. Thanks for the invitation for this.
Yeah, so this is really cool, and it's really great that you're here with us, kicking off this new series, the relaunch of the podcast. We want to focus more on the history and more what you've been doing in this field and what you're working on. So maybe to start this off, maybe you can tell us a little bit, what's your life story, where you're coming from, how did you get into the field of AI?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Currently I'm a professor at Northeastern University at Boston. Before that, I was indeed in both industry and academia. I was working in BBN Technology, which is in Cambridge, as a thermal contactor company. Before that, I graduated from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Then after I stayed in BBN Technology for 2 years as a research scientist, I built the first computer vision team there. I switched up to academia back to 2010. So in 2010, I joined University of Buffalo, which is the State University of New York. I was there for 2 years, another 2 years as a assistant professor in the field of computer vision, machine learning. And since 2012, I joined Northeastern until today. So I'm doing research in most of my life so far in the field of AI. And in the meanwhile, I commercialize some of the research outcome as company. So I'm a professor. In the meanwhile, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, actually, it's one of the reasons why I found it so exciting that you agreed to join us, because you have this unique mix of academia and being a serial entrepreneur, which is really cool because advancing research is one thing, but applying it somewhere and making a use of it essentially is so important as well. And this combination is pretty cool, I think. But before we go into this, what made you choose this field of AI or machine learning? Was there something specific? It sounds like you got in there through computer vision somehow.
Yeah, so I think I started my research experience by doing some kind of side project image processing. Indeed, when I was an undergraduate student, I actually studied communication, studied wireless. Back to early stage of 20th century. So indeed, I was more like a big fan of wireless communication, cell phones, those kind of technology. But later on, we had some experience, some opportunity to join some side projects in my previous research institution. So my early project was on face recognition. Back to 1999 or 2000. So those period of time, face recognition was kind of starting launching. AI is not a popular yet, but people start looking into computer vision applications. I think that actually motivates my research interest. And starting from that, I concentrate more of my research interest and effort on computer vision until today.
Yeah, I remember I also come from computer vision, and I started in 2001. And back then, for us as students, artificial intelligence, yes, somehow existed, but more like a remote field. Yes, it's a research topic, but it was not a big topic really. it was like computer vision was somehow the big thing. And we were talking about also Viola Jones, face detection. That was the big thing back then. And somehow like the field of machine learning became so radically faster and better that it entered computer vision and somehow took over. But I remember that back then, the computer vision was the big thing and not AI.
Exactly. To echo that, I still have a strong connection with Michael Jones, who was the professor, who is a researcher in Merle here at Cambridge. So I still have sent a student to his group to do research because, I started by doing face recognition, face detection, follow his early seminal work. But when I talk to the modern students, the new generation of students, seems nobody knows that older detector.
But back then it was revolutionary.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it was in every digital camera there was Viola Jones.
Yes.
And cool. So, okay, so today you're a professor at Northeastern. You publish tons. I saw you have so many citations. It's really crazy. Can you give us an idea what you're currently working on? So what are the hot topics right now in your lab?
Yeah, so my lab has multiple projects. Most of them are computer vision, vision language models, and some machine learning topics as well. I think we're interested in topics around high-level human intelligence performed by machine. So we're interested in video understanding, video captioning, and also learning through large models. Obviously, most of the research are around deep learning models through big data as a training set. So we're interested in a variety of applications in industry, such as security defense applications, consumer space, medical applications, autonomous intelligence, autonomous car, autonomous shopping, and our application and the commercialization are through variety of industry as well, such as TV rating industry, like advertisement industry, such as beauty, skincare, and aging, and so all type of, even financial, so all type of applications.
Okay, interesting. So it's all. It sounds like it's still very much video or image based.
Yes,
right.
It's also cases image, video, language, text.
Oh, you do natural
language.
We do
some natural language processing as well.
Maybe a question out of personal interest. I have an ongoing bet with a friend of mine when autonomous cars really will take off on our streets. Do you have any opinion? Like a few years ago, I was super excited. 5 years ago, it sounded like it would be very soon, but now we start hearing stuff like Tesla Autopilot not really working properly, and it somehow hasn't taken off as we thought. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think autonomous driving is definitely the big trend and also the future of human life. And when I started my research career, my previous groups, they are actually working on autonomous cars even back to 1998 and 2000, those times. Even I was not involved in those projects, but I'm kind of experienced. I see what they do every day. Even until today, we see the real product running on the road, and I do have many friends and colleagues. They are in that industry, autonomous driving industry. I see a big revolution in the last 5 years. And most of my friends, they have those Tesla cars, and they have all type of other brand of cars with autonomous function. So I think it's emerging, and in the meanwhile, it's prevalent right now. I'm kind of positive to see the future of using AI in the autonomous auto industry, and I do think those kind of products will be more prevalent in the future, and will replace many of our driving behaviors and experience.
I find it hard in general to in technology to make predictions, because we always make predictions based on our past data and experiences. And sometimes when there's fast development, we tend to extrapolate this and we'll think that it goes as fast in the future. Yeah. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. It's really hard to say. And then you have these revolutions like ChatGPT, where everybody's like, "Oh my God, super excited that suddenly something like this is possible." So somehow it goes in steps, I have the feeling, like in plateaus, and then that's how we progress. Actually, speaking of ChatGPT, do you think something similar will happen soon with visual information, with images? I mean, obviously we have generative networks also for video and images, but this watershed moment of ChatGPT I haven't seen yet. So I'm wondering if this will come soon.
Yeah, I believe it's on the way because we do have several research lines in our lab. Actually, we are looking to vision language models and also looking to conversation and captioning based on visuals. So eventually, I think the ChatGPT will be the foundation for many new GPTs, like the Vision GPT, like OpenGPT. In my lab, we have some research around video understanding or image understanding. It's also large models. It's also transformer-based models. And our goal is to mimic human intelligence. So when someone see an image or see a video, we can describe what's going on in the image and the video instantly. And so in the future, I believe we could also have that type of vision GPT. And the intelligence will actually interact with humans. They can instantly tell us what they say, what they see in the image, in the video. So this can be applied to many domains. Conversation, intelligence, it's going to be prevalent in our daily life, I believe.
Mm-hmm. We as a company and industry are obviously in the video surveillance industry. So this could, of course, have huge implications if something like this is being applied to city surveillance. I'm sure it will have very interesting implications. For example, we had discussions around is it a use case to describe a video scene automatically? So a security operator doesn't have to watch the video anymore. It basically gets a text describing what's happening. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure if this is a use case, but it could be. And of course, there is a big potential of misuse as well, like with any potential technology. So this will be interesting when this AI becomes more powerful. How do you apply it, and how do you ethically apply it as well?
Yeah, so I think in the last 10 years, computer vision field has a big jump in terms of research and the industrial application. I think it's all about the timing. ChatGPT is has been iterated several rounds of versions, and now it's in a stage that people think that can definitely pass the Turing test. But for computer vision, I think it's on the way because when you see the trajectory in the last 10 years of the growth of computer vision research effort and also the achievement, I think it's just timing. Probably in the next 1 year, 2 years, you will see a lot of new vision models coming up and applied in industry and in consumer space as well.
So the Turing test for a visual GPT, do you think it would be for example, like a conversation with a webcam, and it's about being as real as possible? Is that what the Turing test for visual things would be?
I think for visual things is more like a mimic human vision. So for our human vision, so to mimic our human vision, and especially for the high-level human vision, so like cognition, perception and cognition. So for our human beings, over 90% of information we receive every day from vision. Language is our function that we can communicate. So we describe what we see from that 90% of information we acquire every day. So I think vision is more important in terms of information analysis and collection. So in the future, vision and language definitely will be combined as the joint intelligence. And they're going to motivate each other's research. For example, the ChatGPT model definitely will motivate the vision GPT. Because those kind of rewarding models from the ChatGPT that they use the reinforcement learning to have a human involved and a human in the loop to reward any desired response or undesired response from the GPT. That's going to motivate the computer vision research as well. And I think some recent research from big companies and research labs, they found out if we also have those reinforcement learning mechanism in the computer vision models, also large models, it will also significantly enhance the intelligence and cognition of the vision model. So I think those fields, they are intertwined and they motivate each other.
How, I'm not so familiar with this. How do you reinforce the learning for seeing understanding, for example? Is that with a human in the loop, or how would you
I think it's more like human in the loop, and when vision system or AI system provides some outcome or results, and the human will be involved in tell the AI system which is expected, which is not. It's like a rewarding signal. So we send those rewarding signals to the AI model, then the AI model will make adjustments inside. So it's more like a mimic human. So you can imagine if the human in the loop, if the human have different background, they may train the AI model in a way that favor those humans.
Yeah, it's just another way to introduce bias.
That's right. Yeah.
It's, big topic, of course. And I was just thinking again of our industry, because still nowadays we have the security operators sitting in front of screens, looking at the screens all day. Yeah. And this is something where they could really help, where they can provide feedback to a model and reinforce it this way, because they have the domain experience for exactly this kind of task. Yeah. So, and in a way, at the same time, they will make this kind of job redundant, but their job will probably transform into something else, into making this reasoning of the output of the model. I mean, obviously, we have to go away from watching videos all the time. It's just a stupid task. Mm-hmm. Just as it is stupid to drive a car. It's every time I sit in a car, I'm thinking, what kind of lost human potential drives around on the streets in the whole world every day? It's just mind-boggling. We need to get rid of this.
That's right. So I think that's the expectation of our AI researchers. They hope the AI in the future can be assistant of everybody, and not necessarily replace our job, but at least assistant and help us. Yeah,
and I mean, sure, jobs will transform. I mean, no job stays the same, especially if you get assistance. But I think so too. I mean, AI is not here to replace anybody. It's really to help humankind, yeah. And that we will just get more efficient and improve our everyday lives as it is today already. I mean, what our phones are doing is amazing.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about you as a serial entrepreneur. I find this really interesting because you went into, I think, first academia, then industry, then academia again, and now you're also launching startups. So can you talk a little bit about what companies you have founded, what did they do, and how did it get to it?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, in my early research career, I was focusing on human face analysis, like face recognition, facial understanding and attribute recognition, and human behavior analysis and human AI interaction. So in my early stage of entrepreneurship, so my first company is actually called TV Insights. That's a Boston-based company, and we start from Boston back to 2015, around that time, 14, 15, around that time. So it's a TV rating company. The technology is to use computer vision as a tool to collect human attention on the TV screen. So basically, we have those camera system, we have the vision system to collect human attention. And so the attention, basically, we're going to recognize who they are, recognize their focus of attention, and recognize their behavior. And the company is still there. It's in good shape. Actually, after several rounds of fundraising, and right now is providing good service in industry. And my second company for the Jiran, that's the Northeastern spin-out company. The company is also technology driven, and we apply facial recognition technique to the beauty industry. So we actually use facial analysis on augmented reality type of application. So we simulate cosmetic products on facial images. So customers can actually try on different cosmetic products like color, texture in real time on their face. They use cameras basically. So this can help those cosmetic companies for their online sales. So the company was acquired by Shiseido in 2017. That's one of the largest cosmetic beauty company. And after that, we have a recent startup company also spin out from Northeastern called the AI Innovation Lab. So this is another technology-driven company, and we focus on computer vision on the edge. So we build lightweight computer vision models, and so that many of the sophisticated models can be moved from cloud server to the user end, to edge devices such as cell phones. So we have applications like human tracking in real time, assess human movement, track all the joints on human body. So we use that for rehabilitation, remote rehabilitation, remote fitness. We also use that for medical, autonomous, all type of applications.
So, okay, but yeah, AI on the edge is very interesting. It's really a trend that we definitely see in our industry as well. Why do you think this is a trend? Why is more and more moving to the edge?
Yeah, I think around 10 years ago, everything is centralized. When we have those smartphones, you want all the apps on the phone. But in the meanwhile, we don't have enough power, computational power on the device. So a lot of elements or a lot of algorithm or models are running on the cloud. That's why the cloud and the server, those are getting popular since 10 years ago. Now everything is like moved from centralized to decentralized, from decentralized to centralized. So basically, the users, they want to own their data. And they generate data every day, but they don't want the data to be sent to the cloud and running on the cloud. And then they have all the service coming from the cloud. So they want to move the functions happening on their smartphone. So that centralization of those functions require our researchers to figure out the best way that we could balance the models, the algorithms, the tools, and where they're sitting, right? They're sitting on the user end or they're sitting on the cloud. And also, nowadays, we always talk about privacy, the privacy issue. Mm-hmm. And if the data, if we don't collect a lot of personal data and all the data collection and the processing happening on the smart devices of the user end, that's going to mitigate that concern as well.
Mm-hmm. To me, at least in our industry, I'm talking about video, to me, it's also a cost factor because I have the feeling that the public clouds at Microsoft, Amazon, and so on, they're still very costly in terms of GPU power, especially when you process video. So I think there's also like a cost pressure to move to the edge to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
But that, of course, it might change. But today, I see this also as a factor that's just expensive.
Yeah. I think another reason is because our edge devices are more powerful than before. So it has more capacity to run new functions, algorithms, softwares. That's another foundation change and also motivation for those kind of research.
But I think it probably requires also to add other features in the backend. So things like, I don't know, collecting data for training is more difficult if you do it in the edge, or diagnostics data, all these kind of things probably require a different backend if you want to do it in the edge.
Yes, I think cloud is still useful right now. It's just probably it's going to play a different role in the future, like you just said, because currently when we talk about those GPT or those kind of wonderful intelligent tools, they are actually relying on large models, and those large models, they are trained with a huge amount of data. This task cannot happen on edge devices. Definitely has to happen in cloud.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely if you deploy something on the edge, it's probably rather pre-trained models and supervised somehow. Talking about data sets, at least we from the industry, at least as a large provider, we have a lot of legal concerns regarding data sets, or we try to be ethical about this. But at the same time, I have the feeling that there's a lot of gray zone, and there's a lot of misuse of this as well. There's a lot of data only for research purposes, not so much for commercial use. It's unclear. I'm personally unclear. I have no idea about ChatGPT, how the underlying data is licensed. No idea if that's like researched or considered or not. What's your opinion on this? Have you seen any trend to have a firm legal opinion on licensing data sets, or how should companies deal with this problem?
Yeah, like you said, I think that's for many of the data collection, it's a gray area. Indeed, for research, for academic research, we have certain protocols to collect data, and at different level of management and policy. When we have research, for example, if in academia, for medical research, biology research, we have those IRB protocols. So we have certain management for human subjects, for animals. So when we collect the data, and the purpose of using the data is also constrained. We can only do research and based on those data. I think in industry, it's a different story, because in industry, it's profit, for profit. And nowadays, all the models need a large amount of data. A lot of research in the AI field collect data from public. For example, in the public space, in the social media space, there are tons of data every day. But it's always a debate. Is that it's always an ethics issue as well. Can we use all the public data for training and build a new product? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So it's still a gray area. People are looking into that, because many of the companies, they have the research department. They can always consider part of their usage of the data is for research only. And when they have the research outcome, they probably can use the research outcome as a foundation to build a new product. So from this process, they're part of their activity is really research. So it's probably feasible and reasonable to using those public data. I think going forward in the future, people may have more common sense and also have more commonly agreed policy or protocol to manage the data, because it's a big issue now. And we generate data every day, but we're also concerned about the breach of the privacy of the data.
Yeah, there's I think there's still a lot of legal precedent to be made. I recently heard that there are lawsuits against Stable Diffusion because they use artists' work to create art, like new art in the same style as of an artist. And I can understand that artists are pissed because they spend all their lives to perfecting their style, their individual style, and suddenly something else can copy it. But on the other hand, yes, the work is not in the model. The model is just weights. It's using this input data. It's a difficult question, and I can say in our space, I believe that startups have more freedom to use data because they need to get into the market fast. But especially if you're a large company and you need to have products that are sold globally and at scale, you need to make sure that all the underlying data is properly licensed.
Yeah.
It's a difficult topic, and I think we're still not at the end of this.
Exactly. I think it's also relevant to the local law. I think a different region of the world, they have different law to constrain people using those data. I think in US they have policy, they have laws, and in Europe they have, in Asia they have. So that's why in different regions people may have they have a different tolerance of using those public data.
Yeah, but for many applications you need data from everywhere. I mean, you don't want to be biased towards one space.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, and it's probably something you have to take a regional look at.
Yes.
How to collect data and where. I mean, I'm coming from Europe, and Europe doesn't really have is not famous for commercializing research. We're very bad at this compared to the US. So I'm a little bit interested. How does it work? You spun out 2 or 3 startups from your lab. How does it work? How do you come up with the idea? Is the team the students? Does the university license something to the startup? How does that work?
Yeah. So I think here in US, especially in the region I'm here, and I'm in the East Coast, and sometimes I also had collaborators in the West Coast. I think that in the US, the system commercialization is actually appreciated because we're going to generate a social impact. We're going to convert and translate our research outcome as a real product or service to benefit people in the economy. So I think this is definitely supported here. U.S. government, especially in the funding system, actually they have a strong support for research-oriented commercialization. In National Science Foundation here, they have funding called SBIR, SPGR. Especially supporting small business. And those small business, they're not necessarily coming from a research institution. Could be from anywhere in the U.S. And they can submit a proposal with some research-oriented technology innovation, and then they're going to be funded by the government. And those money are non-dilutive funding, so it's definitely preferred by those startup companies. And once they enter those phase 1 stage, then they have an opportunity to further expand their research and product development to enter second round. So the second round is a big deal. It's like million level support. As I know, many high-tech companies here, they run on government funding, and beyond National Science Foundation, there are other funding agencies that also provide those type of small business grants. It's all non-dilutive. And also here I feel beyond the government, in the venture capital space, commercialization and the startup is also very active. Those kind of activities is very broad, very prevalent, and people here, they love to talk to each other and with new ideas, brand new ideas, and they build connections very easily. And I think the ecosystem here is kind of has been there for a long time, pretty mature. If someone has a good idea, you can always find tips, find an incubator somewhere to support your idea.
And how does it work? Are there like standard agreements with the university to license the technology? How's the university involved in such a...
Yeah, so here, I think different universities, they have a different policy for commercialization. Some universities, so obviously it's all from IP. And also I believe usually if the research coming from the university, the IP owned by university, by institution. Mm-hmm. And then the faculty could, in most cases, they license the IP, but they're inventors. So they license IP from university, and then they commercialize. So it's more like a joint venture joint startup by the PI, inventor, and also university. So those type of startup has been quite a bit here in Boston area, in the Bay Area, and Midwest also as well.
So, but the university is not a shareholder; it's providing license. Right?
I think it's case by case. I believe in most of the cases, the university will have some shares. It's just it's all about how much they own. But in most of the cases, university, they're non-profit, so they're not using that as an income. It's more like a supportive, and also it's for their general impact and involvement. I think their involvement depends on their university policy. I heard different universities, their policy are indeed very different. It's also based on their culture, their history as well.
Mm-hmm. And how did it happen with you personally that you spun out? Did you work with students, or was it a specific idea? Did it come out of a research project?
Yeah, I had several startup before, like I mentioned. Some are not from my students, some are from my students. So I had a project or startup before without it's not from university, it's outside. It's just based on my spare time activity. I do have a startup totally spin off from university. Those students have been involved, and they are inventor, they are founding members. So it's happened all the time. I think Northeastern University, my university, is making a good model here that actually have enough flexibility when they start up companies. And those kind of entrepreneurship has been supported here with different generation of, I would say, the policy and also the group of people here. They help us to start the business. Here we have those IT transition department. They help us to build the whole pipeline of moving research outcome from the lab to the consumer space to the funding space. And in the meanwhile, we have a clear practice handbook that support us. You can follow all the rules there when you start a company or business and manage your time.
Yeah, it is really cool. I find it so important to have the university should really be the institution that supports this, that brings research into industry, and it's okay if they participate. I mean, of course, they funded the research, but to have, like, often here in Europe, I have the feeling that it's almost like a fight, that universities are fighting against startups commercializing things, and they're somehow afraid that something is taken away from them, which I think is totally the wrong approach. And also, I think it's interesting for the research departments as well to get this input as how things are being used, and to get out in the real world, right? Because sometimes if you just spend your time in research conferences, it might be also hard to see how people are actually using technology and what use cases are out there. Yeah, so I find this super interesting. Maybe we're almost at the end. Do you have any kind of prediction? What kind of big innovation do you think we will see this or next year? So what is next ChatGPT?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, I think I'm definitely interested in the direction of robotics. I think we're going to have a big jump in the robotics industry because of those innovations from natural language processing, from computer vision, from machine learning. Because robotics is a system integrating all this type of intelligence. So here at Boston, there's a Boston Dynamics. So people have seen those videos. They have those robotics running around walking like humanoid robots. I think if those natural language processing components, computer vision components, machine learning components can be integrated together into those type of robots, you can imagine the next couple of years, we will see humanoid robots probably walking on the street. and chat to the people, serve in the restaurant, and help us to, on many services. That's I see that's the future.
Yeah, that's very cool. Even, especially also in previous years, we have seen time and time again where there's something new coming out and you really have the feeling of living in the future.
Yeah.
And it continues to happen. So today it might really sound weird that robots are walking on the streets, but I guess you're right. In a few years, we'll see.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Do you have anything else to add before we end this?
I think this is a very, very interesting conversation with you. I really enjoy it. Indeed, this is my first podcast, and I think that I had a very good experience. I'd love to do more in the future.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining. It has been super interesting, especially to talk to someone who is so deep into this revolution that's happening right now. You don't get this chance every day. So, yeah, thank you for joining. And I hope our viewers enjoyed as well. I'm sure of it. I'll see my viewers next time. So thank you again.
Thank you.